Hey everyone, I'm super excited. Welcome. Today we are talking about something very, very important and very dear to my heart. I am so excited because today we're talking about leadership and we're talking about raising leaders. And I hope you guys can see me now. I see that I'm a little frozen, but that's okay. So, raising leaders is all. Oh my gosh, it's exactly what this world needs right now. Our world needs leaders. Our world is desperately in need of leaders, real leaders who are going to do what's theirs to do in the world, get their gifts and their talents developed, and whatever stirs their soul, do something in the world that makes a difference. And that is what I am all about, you guys. I am all about that. That is my mission. And in order to do that, we have to raise leaders. We have to develop them in our homes, in our families. And that's very important that we do it deliberately. We can't just do it going through the motions. We can't just expect that it's going to get there willy-nilly. We have to be very intentional. You guys know I talk about intentionality all the time. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about how you are developing leaders in your home, in your homeschool, because homeschooling is the best place to develop leaders. This is the best place for you to turn your kids into leaders. Guess what? They want to be leaders. Did you know that? Our kids want to be leaders. They see problems in the world and they go, man, I need to do something about that. I need to change that. They feel it. They hear something that stirs their heart and just gets them mad. And they say, wow, I need to do something about that. I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to be a leader. I don't know where to even start. That's our job. That's our job as parents. And it's easy to go through the motions of homeschooling, checking the boxes. It's easy for us to just do our math, do our language arts, do our science, and just check those boxes and expect that it's going to get us to those leaders that we're looking to get. And you guys, I'm not talking necessarily about Martin Luther King Jr.'s all over the world. I mean, how great would it be, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that our kids have to be that. Our kids can be leaders and practice leadership skills to be successful in whatever they do, right? That's ultimately what we want for our kids. I talk to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families all the time. I talk to parents every day and I ask them the one question that I'm going to ask you right now. When your kids, and I want you to think about this, I want you to write it down. If you have pencil and paper with you, I want you to write this down. If you are looking at your kids at 24 years old, like way past the point where they're just out of the house, but 24 years old-ish, what kind of people are they? What kind of people are they? Are they people with integrity? Do they have confidence? I really want you to take a second, you guys, and think about this. Close your eyes or take notes on this would be even better. I really want you to think about this hard because this matters. This is the only thing that matters. When they're 24, when they're out in the world living their best life, what does that look like? I don't care what their career is. I don't care what they're doing as far as a job or whatever the case. I care about what kind of people they are. How do they conduct themselves in the world? Do they have communication skills? Do they have problem solving skills? Are they lifelong learners? Think about that. I want you to go back and I want you to think about it for just a second. I want you to really, really write down that. And then after we're done, I want you to go back and add more to that. Okay. There's so much more that goes into this. What do you really want for your kids at the end of homeschooling, way past when they're living their best life? You guys, school doesn't talk about that. That's one of the reasons why we homeschooled for most of us. We want to be intentional about the way that our kids are raised. So, is what you're doing in your homeschool developing those kinds of leaders, developing that person, that end goal that we just talked about? Let's think about that, okay? Because if we're not, then we need to get more intentional. And I'm going to share with you three things to think about, okay? But if you're in this place where you're like, yeah, I don't even know. I've never thought about that before. Now's the time. Now's the time to think about that. And then what I want you to do is I want you to reach out to me. I want you to schedule a call with me because seriously, this is a very individual thing. I talk to parents every single day from all over the country, even internationally. And it's different for every family. It's different for every parent. And your family situation is different. How you go about implementing intentionality is different. So we really need to have a conversation about what your family situation is and what's going on in order for us to get down that intentionality. But I'm going to give you three things to think about in terms of the larger picture today. Okay. And these are just starting points, but we really need to talk. That's where the intentionality starts to happen. That's where we can see the big picture, that end goal, that 24 years old, and we can start to break it down into what do we do today. Okay. So really, really think about that and then schedule a call with me so that we can talk about that and how it looks for your family. Okay. So you ready for the three things to think about? The three things to think about are number one, what is the level of love of learning in your home? Now, you guys know that I have the Love of Learning assessment, which is available in all the show notes and all the everything's attached to this episode, this podcast, this Live with Cami here. Make sure you grab that Love of Learning assessment, and it's totally free. And just take that Love of Learning assessment for yourself and your family. Did you see that I said yourself too? I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, but that's very important. Okay. So take that Love of Learning assessment. What is the level of Love of Learning in your home right now? You're going to get results. You're going to get a number out of 100. Okay. And I want you to keep taking that and see where it lies. If it's lessening, if it's growing, okay, so it's an indication of what we need to do. Then I want you to think about the setting, because developing leaders is about setting the culture in your home and in your family that fosters that. And that's what the Inspiring Lifelong Learning Program does. That's why I created that. Because in order for us to develop leaders, we have to develop lifelong learners. That's why the Love of Learning assessment is so important. And in order to develop lifelong learners, what do we have to do? We have to set a culture, a environment in our family that everything we do intentionally gets us inspiring that love of learning, which over time then fosters a lifelong love of learning. And a lifelong learner is a leader, or will eventually be one, because they're always learning, always growing. That's the culture we want to create. Okay. So think about, what are you doing with your culture? And does your culture reflect a natural fostering of love of learning and of lifelong learning? Does it foster personal growth, integrity, responsibility, personal responsibility, communication, problem solving? How about attitude? I know it's one thing to say attitude is like, it is everything. There's actually a book called Attitude is Everything. It's a really great book. But the attitude in your house, especially in reactionary times, okay? Our kids are kids. We're all people too. We have reactions. But leadership is really about controlling those reactions and intentionally focusing on the real issue, right? The real problem and taking ownership of it. And that's attitude, right? Having grace for people, all of those things, those leadership skills. You guys, I've been studying leadership and success principles and personal growth for over 20 years. And I've been implementing that. And that's part of our culture in our home. So my son continually looks at himself in that worldview with that lens, with those glasses on. And it's such an amazing, beautiful thing. It really is. It's quite crazy, actually. It's quite la la land. I know I didn't act that way when I was a teenager. And so it's so refreshing. I'm so excited when he does that. I'm going to tell you about an example of that in just a second. But I want to get to number three. Number three, which is part of that culture, actually, almost all of where it begins is with example. Are you the thermostat in your home? Do you set the example of leadership, of personal growth, of constantly learning? Do you share it with your family? Do they see you doing the things of life, of love, of learning, of personal growth? Do they see you making mistakes, making amends? How do you learning new things, getting excited about something and learning and digging into it, going through hard things and learning something hard? Do they see you doing that? That's part of your culture. That's actually a lot of where it stems from is you. I know that sounds hard. I know that sounds weird, especially when you feel stuck and you're just trying to get through the day. You're trying to like, man, I'm just trying to get some math into these kids. I get that. And there's a place for that. But it only is after we consider the long-term vision, the long-term goal. That is where lifelong learning comes into play. That's where leaders are grown. We have to keep that in mind first and then extrapolate out into how does math fit into all of this? Here's a good example. So the other day, this was literally just the other day, I was doing, my daily stuff in the office here, and my son's room is right next door, and I was very quiet for a very long time, which usually means he's reading, which is good. He needed to be reading something and for his studies, and I go in there and I'm like, okay, well, where are you at? How far you got? What's happening? How's it going? And he was like, well, and I thought, oh man, here we go. He had only read about 2 pages in about an hour. And that's unusual because that kid can fly through stuff. And I'm like, what's going on here? What is happening? And he said, well, I've been sitting here thinking about why I'm not doing what I know I should do. Okay. And this is something that we've talked about lots and lots of times. So we had a conversation. And we had a conversation about, first of all, knowing what we should, we know what we should do. And so what's the stopping point? And he knows that. We talked about it so many times. It's a choice. Well, why aren't we making the choice? I don't know. I've made the choice and I don't know why it's not working. Okay. Well, we've also talked about that. And so when do we have to make the choice? Well, we have to make it in today. We have to make it in an hour. We have to make it in the next 30 minutes. We have to make it in the next minute, the next second. Every single second that goes by, we have to make that choice again. And the absence of making a conscious choice is actually making a choice. We're making a choice to not make a choice. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. And if you study leadership, you study success principles, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's really just about taking ownership, right? Taking ownership of that. And so he is really frustrated with himself. He is frustrated with the whole situation. He didn't want to waste time. And so we had a huge conversation about, well, why are we doing this anyway? What's the point? What if you don't read this? What's the point? And it led us all the way down a path, which me, as an example, I was using lots of examples of myself. What if I don't help parents overcome box checking, and develop lifelong learners? What if I don't? What will happen? Yeah, the world could be without a lot of leaders. I'm not trying to toot my own horn saying I'm the greatest thing since leadership, but what I am saying is I have a I have a mission. I have a mission in this world that I feel strongly about, that I can do something to help people. And so that matters. That matters. And he was digging. So, what is that for you? So, he knows and he's digging in. He wants to help people, live with the environment, and animals, especially saving animals, means a lot to him, like wild animals. And so, how can we do that without politicizing it and all these other? He's getting teary-eyed as he's talking about it. That's when you know it's your real mission, by the way, is when you get, frustrated just thinking about it. You feel that pang in your gut and it makes you teary-eyed. That's when you know it hits your soul. And it's something that's yours to do, right? So that's a culture that we have in our homes. We're constantly talking about that. And then we extrapolated that out to, well, what does it matter about the reading then? Well, if I don't read this, then I don't get my scholar face. I don't get, that I'm not preparing myself for all the things. And what are those things we're preparing for? We went through all the things we're preparing for to do and pursue the mission that he feels is important to him. Do you see how that matters? I'm using myself as an example. I hate writing emails, y'all. You guys that get emails from me, I hope you please read them. Just open them and read them, please, because I absolutely hate writing them. So what I do is I put my absolute best into writing it because I know that it's some area I need to grow in, okay? So please, I'm trying to do my best to make it short enough but also meaningful, and it's a learning curve, right? And that's hard for me cuz my natural tendency is to do this with you, is to chat, right? Emails like, I don't want to chat that way. I want to chat with you live. That's why I want you to get in touch with me so we can chat live about it. But it's something that I have to overcome. I have to move through. And he sees me struggle with that a lot. And he sees me really pouring myself into it, even though I don't feel like doing it, even though I won't want to do it. And we all have those things, right? But it's for an example for him, not including it's also for me too, and for you guys, because that's who I'm ultimately about. But it is also for him. He gets to watch all that. Do you see how example is important? And it also sets the tone for the culture of our home because I'm taking little things from there and I'm implementing them in a specific way so that he can take ownership and practice those leadership skills while he's here with me so that he doesn't have to try and do it on his own out there in the world when he doesn't have an example necessarily or a mentor. It's about mentoring, right? We're mentoring leaders. And I'm being mentored. Are you being mentored? I know I posted about this the other day that a mentor is mentored. A good mentor is mentored, meaning you have people that you're learning from, you're coaching with, you're getting feedback from, and you're breaking through hard things with them, right? This is the beauty of mentoring, and it is what makes a good mentor, and it what develops leaders. So having this whole range from where our kids are in their 24th year, where they're out in the world living their best life, our idea of that back to today, we have to raise that love of learning really, really high as we can get it, and then keep it consistent so that we end up with lifelong learners who are leaders who go out in the world and live their best life. Do you see that whole rainbow that we're getting to? We're starting at the end, the bottom point, and we're building up to this. So really, those three things are the foundation of where everything lies. I know it's very general, but like I said, that's why we need to chat and we need to figure out how to implement those things for you and your family. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, you guys, seriously, this is my jam. I love this. This is my passion. We have to raise leaders. We have to raise these leaders. And I want to give a shout out right now to all my inspiring lifelong learning members because they are the ones who made the commitment. They said, yes, I need to be a lifelong learner. I want my kids to be leaders and lifelong learners and confident and have all of these beautiful skills to go out in the world and be prepared to do whatever it is that's theirs to do successfully. And they said, yeah, I need to learn some things. I'm going to commit to learn them. We just had a group mentoring session this morning, and I was so amazed and so proud of the gains that they're getting and the willingness to think outside of the box and willingness to stop that box checking and go, oh, you're right. That is box checking. Oh, I see that now. We actually had this morning one of our newer members who was saying that when he and their child get together to do some studies, do some school, they're anticipating the struggle that comes with that. And so it makes it harder and harder. And now he's seeing over time the level of love of learning drop a little bit because even though their daughter's 5, she's anticipating the struggle that comes with studying those things. So we have to think outside the box. And I was so proud of him for doing that, for thinking, oh my gosh, yes, that is what's happening. I need to reframe it and do something different until we can renegotiate that level of love of learning and those learning expectations. You guys, I'm so proud of them. That's what the Inspiring Lifelong Learning Program is about. I can't wait to talk to you guys individually and really get what is great for your family and how to implement that now. Get that long-term vision. Get that 24-year-old in your mind and then really define it and then go down to today. What do we need to do today to start implementing that? And the first things are those 3 questions. What is the level of love of learning in your home? Developing leaders is all about setting the culture where inspiration and fostering that love of learning and leadership growth happens. And then 3, setting the example. You guys can do it. You guys got this. I know you are amazing. And that is why I am on this journey with you, because I know that together we can raise these leaders up to go out in the world and change this world for the better. We need them. They want to go out there. We just need to mentor them to get there. I can't wait to talk with you guys individually. Make sure you book a call with me, and I will check back in with you next week. Bye-bye.